we're back. We're the Trauma
We're
Guys.
back. Trauma Guys.
I'm Lee.
I'm Fayaz.
And,
We're still social distancing. Can you tell?
Yeah, this is.
Can you tell we're social distancing?
We're trying to be.
I'm starting to get scared to be like too close to a picture of myself. Like I have to like scoot back.
That's why I'm driving. That's why I'm backing up for the monitor here. So.
I'm like, whoa, who's that guy? I'm like, oh, it's me. It's me. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
All right. Well,
right there, merch, baby, merch.
We're on the verge of talking about MMA. We just went over some MMA stuff. If you didn't know about the Tony Ferguson fight, 249 UFC. So we decided that we wanted to go and talk about our top 10 favorite old school MMA fighters. Now this is our top 10. Mine, his, not a top 10 that's on anything. This is our.
Keep in mind, I'm going to give you a disclaimer though on this one, right? I've probably got 100. I don't even know if there's 100. I've got a lot.
Yeah.
So for me to put these 10 guys in order is really hard. But I know, like, as soon as we're done talking about this, I'm going to have 10 more I could just put in a line. Or go, oh, no, I should have put that guy in this list.
And I had that same thing. I was like, when we started talking about doing this the other day, I was like, oh, man, I wrote down a list, and then I'm like, oh, shoot. So I kept adjusting because every day somebody else would pop into my head. So, all right. So we're going to start with number 10. Faz, what is your number 10?
My number 10 is Mark Coleman, the godfather of ground and pound. So when Mark Coleman came around, he was just a super fly wrestler, right? Mm-hmm. But he invented ground and pound. Back when you could still use headbutts and it was still tournament style in the UFC, he would he'd put people in side control and he'd smash them. He'd smash them with his hands. He'd smash them with his head. When he got to Pride, though, you were actually allowed to need a grounded opponent. So he'd lock them up in front headlocks, or he'd get them in a north-south, and he'd just drop knees on them, man. And it was brutal. But I loved watching Mark Coleman fight.
All right.
Who's your number 10?
Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for this stuff. But I put Royce Gracie. And the reason why was, one, he's the originator, him and his family, of the UFC and the way this got started. If it wasn't for him and what he did, everything wouldn't have led to this history, lineage of where things are right now.
That is true.
So it's very important that he is a part of this list. He was a great fighter. Yes. He was a great representative for what he did, not just as a martial artist, as a person. So, to me, he's not in my top 5, but in my top 10, I thought him as number 10. A lot of people would probably put him, more in the top 4 or 5 or 1. But to me, I thought there was a lot more fighters who stood out to me more. He was just the start of where everything built to.
Yeah, of something big, right? I mean, he was the start of something big. I mean, just think about it. If you really think about that, right? What if it was a kung fu guy out there beating everybody?
Yeah, it would.
What would everybody be doing right now?
Doing that right now instead of jiu-jitsu.
Everybody be doing that.
Yeah,
right.
So it's whoever was going to win that was going to be the guy that everybody was going to start to focus on what they did.
Yeah, they really displayed that well. Who's your number 9?
Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock. I like it.
And again, Ken was one of those first guys who came out. Yeah, he lost to Royce, but he kept going back and he kept fighting and he kept fighting and he kept doing more. And then they would have these super fights and they would do all these things. And Ken lasted for a long time being a fighter and was in
Shout
a lot
of Ken Shamrock.
Yeah, I mean, and he was the guy who put first together a group of guys that became the Lions Den. And without that was kind of the ball rolling of people building these little groups.
Man, they were like the first real team.
Yeah, team in MMA. That's camp. Exactly. So the first camp that guys were like, well, we're going to train with this guy because we want to get better and build our name around that stuff. So they built their names up around that, and that was a very important point in the history of MMA. Without Gracie and without Ken Shamrock, some of this other stuff isn't leading into where it goes.
Okay. So my number 9, coming out of another great camp from back in the day, is Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes, man. Matt Hughes was an animal, man. That dude used to pick people up, carry them across the ring, and dump them. And he came out of the Miletich camp, and even Pat Miletich was an animal, old school guy. But I remember Matt Hughes fighting Carlos Newton, and they were fighting, and Carlos Newton had him in a triangle, and Matt Hughes lifted him up over his head, and Carlos kept squeezing, and finally Matt just slammed him.
I think he passed
part of that
out.
Because well, that's what I was about to say. So some of it was slam, and some of it was he was going out. He went out, but he had to have some type of force to drop Carlos on his head like that. So I think he was almost there, but he went out, dropped him on his head, and he woke up and he said, "What happened?" And they told him, "You just won." So that to me, that was one of the best fights I've ever seen. And he actually went on after that to have a good reign, nice long reign. He showed how effective the takedown was, how effective if you take a wrestler, take a guy with a great foundation, teach him other things. He was probably one of the best wrestlers in the beginning. Teach him other things. Teach him stand-up. Teach him a little bit of jiu-jitsu. Remember, because he did end up being Hoist later on down the line, too. Almost submitted him, but he pounded him out. You can evolve. So, one of the first early mixed martial artists, you could say. Because you can watch that guy grow. Yeah, for sure.
Then I have my number 8 is Randy Couture.
Randy Couture, the natural, baby.
So Randy Couture, not just that, because he was an older guy getting into this at later stages than a lot of these guys. True. Now, he had a wrestling background. He was in that with Pedro Hizzo in that one fight that was just ridiculous. God. He took so many leg kicks. His legs were never the same because of it. He had a lot of damage.
Permanent damage on that leg.
Permanent damage, but it never stopped him from fighting. He kept doing things. And he was one of the first guys to ever be light heavyweight champion and heavyweight champion. So he did a lot of stuff, and he proved that even though he wasn't as big as some of the heavyweights, he was better than them because he had better technique. He always tried to fix himself and make things better. And
better cardio.
Yeah, better cardio. And he was just a true person, not just that, a good person, a good a leader. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He wasn't a trash talker. He went into fight and he did what he needed to do to get the job done.
Yes.
And he was humble as a winner, and he was even humble in defeat. It didn't matter. He was always the same person. And I had a lot of respect for him, not just that, because being an older guy and keeping and doing it for as long as he did, that takes a lot. That takes a lot of heart and a lot of will.
Yeah.
To want to keep doing those.
He didn't actually start fighting until he was I want to say 34. He started pretty late in the game, but look how long he lasted.
Yeah.
I think he lasted until he was
I think he was
almost
40,
50, 48?
Yeah, 48, somewhere in there. He was
49,
there.
something like that.
Yeah, he was there a long time. So, but he proved that he could do a lot of that stuff. And I know some people are going to disagree with me at the level I put him at, but for me, that's where I put him.
Yeah, definitely. My number 8, is that what we're on? My number 8 is going to be Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock's kind of the forgotten guy, but to me, Frank Shamrock is one of your original mixed martial artists. Another guy who started out of that the Lions Den there, kind of branched off on his own to do his own thing, but he was one of the first guys where you saw he would do stand up, he'd go to the ground, he'd do a lot of catch wrestling, a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff. I loved watching him fight. He was always exciting, but he was also one of the first guys to ever say, hey, if you don't have cardio, right, you're not going to be able to last in this game. I remember him and Tito Ortiz fought, and Tito was beating everybody in that camp, and he went out there and he fought him, and Tito got tired, and he beat Tito up, and Tito was bigger than he was. And Tito got tired, and he beat him up. And Tito will even say to this day, man, Frank, without Frank Shamrock, I wouldn't have learned about cardio. So he's the one who made that come full circle. Not just the technique, but also having that strength and condition to go with it, man. So that was the person who took it to the next level.
All right, number 7.
My number 7?
Yes.
Boss Rutan, baby. Boss Rutan. Boss. El Guapo himself. Dude, I love me some Boss Rutan, man. Boss Rutan, him, Ken Shamrock, and Frank Shamrock all used to fight in Pancrase, before they even came over to the UFC. So, Boss Rutan, man, you ever watch highlight videos of that guy knocking people out with palm heels? If you've missed that, you definitely need to go online and watch it. He's one of the original guys and just one of the original just hardcore leg kickers, man. Just great guy, great attitude. Love the way he represents himself too, man.
King of the liver shot.
King of the liver shot. That's right.
And that's where I learned to throw. I went to I done some boxing stuff, but I went to a seminar with him, and it was all about body shots. And,
yes.
And he's funny too, because he tells jokes and he tells stories. Like sometimes it'll get where he's telling the story, but that's just who he is. But he'll kick your butt. But he taught a lot about throwing a liver shot and different ways to throw it. And I give him props for that. So that's one of those things as well. All right, my number 7 is Rich Franklin. Rich Ace Franklin. Why? Because Rich Franklin, when he came out, he was kind of a self-taught guy, kind of a way, And not just that, he was a school teacher, so he was doing this on the side to start out with. But people thought, oh, he ain't got a chance. Then he stepped out and he fought Ken Shamrock and blew him away in the first round of that fight. That's kind of where everything started to build for Rich, and things started to happen. I mean, the knockouts, the people he beat. He beat
Evan Tanner. Remember Evan Tanner? He beat Evan Tanner. I mean, he beat Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
He beat
everybody in that division except for Anderson Silva, of course.
Anderson Silva, man. He couldn't beat Anderson Silva.
But Anderson Silva loved him so much that he showed respect to Rich, because Rich, both times they fought, even though he destroyed him both times, Rich was always gracious to who he was.
Right.
Rich is one of those people I think doesn't get enough love and respect for the fact of what he's done and what he did during that time.
I think that's true. He's one of your pioneering guys for sure. Yeah. I think and it's cool that he's still kind of in the game, man. I think he works over at 1FC. He does something for the athletes or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what his position is, but he works for I think he works over at 1FC now, and he has been for like a really long time. So,
well, people like him deserve to still have a part in all of this. Whether it's in the back, being a mentor, doing whatever it is. He's such a nice guy in what he's done. I think he deserves all the respect in the world, and I don't think he gets enough of it.
Yeah, definitely. Number 6. My number 6 is going to be Mirko Cro Cop. Mirko Cro Cop showed everybody that I may not have the best ground game, but if I kick you in the head, and I probably will 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to sleep. I used to love watching Mirko Cro Cop fight, especially in the Pride Arena. That dude would put it on, man. He'd get into a fight. And as long as he could stay off the ground and and use his defense, to a good point, he had enough time within that 10-minute first round to usually kick somebody in the head and knock them out. So my number 6 is gonna be Mirko Cro Cop.
All right. Well, my number 6 is Mauricio Shogun Hoo-Ha.
Yeah.
The reason why is
because the box.
Yeah, because that guy, starting from Pride, that crazy stuff he did. The jumping on people, the double stomp, the kicking them in the head when they're on the ground. The time he smashed Rampage. Are you kidding me? There was tons and tons of fights that he did that was crazy. Now when he came to the UFC, it'd been a while, and he'd been kind of laid off for a while since Pride went under. Now it took him a while to get his his feet under him, and he took some beatings, but he also showed that he was one of the original lions of that style and that fight, and he had some crazy leg kicks too, man.
They were nasty. They were nasty leg kicks, man. Nasty, nasty leg kicks, and he came out of the shoot box.
Yes.
Over in Curitiba, right? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and which, if you're ready to move on to number 5, leads me to my number 5 guy, who trained with Mauricio Shogun Rua, the axe murderer, Vanderlei Silva. So, another guy who was just ridiculous when it came to just coming forward, throwing down, his leg kicks, his knees, his elbows. Man, you knocked down Vanderlei Silva, and you knew he was going to get right back up and probably knock that person down after they knocked him down. Man, he'd put on just super exciting fights. He had plenty of trilogies, and one that comes to my head the most was when he fought Sakuraba, and Sakuraba could beat everybody, but Vanderlei Silva had his number, man, no matter what. I mean, from the soccer kicks, because in Pride you could soccer kick people with the head, like you were just talking about, from the soccer kicks to the head to just hitting him with a plain 1-2. I mean, the wrestling wasn't enough to stop Vanderlei Silva, so man, he was just nasty. Who's your number 5?
Lyoto Machida.
Lyoto Machida. Yeah, there you go.
Now, another reason why I always love Lyoto Machida is I also come from that karate background. That's my main for everything. That's the thing I started with. But the way he put it together, the in and out, that's the way we fight, the in and out, the in and out. And from all the fights that he had, just the cool stuff. And then him hitting people with trick stuff, like when he hit Randy Couture with that skip front kick. It wasn't a jump front kick quite yet. It was a skip front kick because he faked it, then he skipped in and caught him. Boom, right under the chin. Out, man.
Randy lost a tooth in that one, too.
Yeah. So that was one of those things that impressed. And then when he beat Rashad Evans for the title,
Oh, yeah.
And everybody thought Rashad's going to get that wrestling. But he couldn't take him down. And that's another thing. He always had really good takedown defense.
He did.
Even though he did jiu-jitsu and he trained it, he just really preferred that he stood up. And he had a lot of really great fights in the UFC. And so he was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. Great movement. So my number 4, coming into the gate, we are on number 4, right?
Yes.
My number 4 coming into the gate is another member of the Gracie clan. I'm going to go with Renzo Gracie. I'd pick Hickson, but I didn't get to see the guy fight a lot. I'm sure he could fight, but there's that mystique around him. And I know the guy can fight. I'm not worried about Renzo, though. Renzo was the pioneering Gracie who decided, I'm going to learn everything, not just rely solely on my grappling. He's the one. I think he brought it. He brought it to the newer age as far as what they were doing as far as mixed martial arts goes. So I really love Renzo Gracie. I love to watch him fight back in the day, and up until I think he had a fight 2 years ago. I think he had a fight. So the guy's an animal. That's the type of style he teaches with too. He teaches for self-defense, and he teaches for I'm gonna take you out. I'm not here to play games. But he's got a great attitude towards life too. He really loves it. Despite losing his brother, and he's just all around. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Oh, mine is Matt Hughes, and since we've already spoke about Matt Hughes.
Yes.
And you so eloquently put, the way, and pretty much all those things you had to say about him, I agree with the same way. So my number 4 was Matt Hughes. Now my number 3 is Tito Ortiz. And,
okay.
And why?
I like that.
Is Tito brought the fire. He brought a little bit of showmanship to what was going on. he was the trash talker, one of the first trash talkers of the era that got people to pay attention. You either loved him or you hated him. You know, you either wanted somebody to kick his butt or you wanted to watch him kick somebody's butt. One or the other. It was either way. You either love him or you hate him. You know, and he knew how to poke that bear and how to get you where you needed to, so you'd be angry enough to get what he wanted. And he was great at the ground and pound. If he got in there, and a lot of people, you know, there was guys that were good fighting in the guard. I would say he was the best fighting from your guard. If you had you in his guard, he was gonna pound you. If you were trying to hold him in your guard, you're gonna have to figure another way to do it, because them elbows were coming down, them hammer fists were coming down, and you were getting beat up. So he was one of the best when it came to that style of thing. If he could get you down and he could do that, you know, and either be on top of you, but in your guard, he was still dangerous. A lot of guys weren't able to fight that off. He was just really good at that area of that ground and pound, and that's where he was most effective. And, you know, he kind of brought some fire to it, got people wanting to watch a little more because of it.
He was exciting, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was exciting. Like, he'd pick somebody up and dump him. I mean, he was exciting. Yeah, the way he did it. So it was kind of cool. And I think with Tito, man, he really, you know, all those guys, man, all those wrestlers, you know, when they got to that ground and pound aspect, you know, every wrestler we've mentioned, it was pretty ridiculous what they could do. They didn't even really care about passing the guard. It was all about just smashing with the elbows, you know, and smashing overall. And I thought that was a really cool approach, you know what I mean? And you couldn't really get mad at that.
No.
You couldn't get mad at that because, you know, it's up to the other guy to try to get out at that point, right?
Yep. Your number 3.
My number 3 is Tito's nemesis.
Chuck Liddell.
Chuck Liddell, man. Chuck Liddell. So, you know, Chuck Liddell, man, was that pioneering guy who brought it together in the U.S. You know what I mean? Who brought it more to the forefront. Him and Tito probably did it both, but Chuck showed. And you know the crazy thing about Chuck is that guy wrestled in college and had a great ground game and everything else to go with it, but he only used it mainly for takedown defense because he loved cracking people and he loved knocking people out. Man, that guy loved to fight. I love watching him fight. You know, and the whole dynamic of Chuck Liddell used to crack me up because people used to go, "Oh, look at that guy, man. That guy just looks like he's some trailer trash boy." And I'm like, "Nah, dude. Not Chuck Liddell, man. That guy went to college. He has a degree like a lot of these guys do, believe it or not. In
accounting, something like that.
Yeah, dude's like really intelligent. I mean, he just likes to party, like to have a good time, and loved to fight, man. And he was really good. And, you know, just like you were talking about earlier with Machida, Chuck Liddell comes from, you know, kind of a karate Kempo background. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of cool, too, because I actually saw old footage of Chuck Liddell actually, you know, helping kids out and, you know, giving them belts, you know, and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool. So, you know, Chuck Liddell was my number 3.
All right. Well, my number 2 is Chuck Liddell. So we both agreed in just a different manner of that situation. But Chuck, his knockouts brought that fire, that interest to people. He became like the face of the UFC for quite a bit of time. It was him. I mean, he was like, everybody was talking about him. Everybody wanted to see him fight. Every time he'd fight, you know, you'd go someplace and it would be just packed with people. Can't wait to watch Chuck fight. And it was always fun and exciting, and he brought a excitement to it. And everybody loves to see somebody get knocked out. It sucks that later in his time he started to get knocked out. But we can all say we saw him at his best and we saw him at his worst, but we still love him no matter what.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. The guy was still exciting. You know, you still wanted to watch him. He was still a draw, and you know, just after a while, man, you just got to the point where he couldn't take it. He just couldn't take that shot anymore, man. That's all that is. Was that
number 2?
Was that our number 3?
Number 2.
That was number 2?
Yep. What's your number 2?
I thought that was number 2.
No.
I thought that was number 3.
Tito was number 3 for me.
Oh, okay. Number 2 for me is I'm gonna go with Royce Gracie, and just because he brought it to the forefront, he brought a whole different dynamic to what fighting really was. And and the cool thing about that story is that they had a guy who was slightly more physically imposing, who was the champion of the family, who everybody just knew was a freaking animal. But they picked Royce because they wanted to show that an average-sized guy could get the job done if given the opportunity to do so. So, obviously I'm speaking about Hickson when I say that, but the reason they picked Royce is because he was a smaller guy. He didn't look that physically imposing, and they wanted to show that that's what it was developed for. That if you know jiu-jitsu, no matter what size you are, you have an opportunity to survive or even win. So that's why I like that. That was my number 2 there. Who's your number 1?
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva. I like it.
Well,
I like that one.
The Spider, the whole thing about him was when he came in, first he crushed one of my favorite people, Rich Franklin.
Yeah, Rich Franklin.
But
I was saddened by that too.
Yeah, but at the same time, he came in and he was doing a lot of stuff a lot of people weren't expecting, and he was dropping not only guys in his division but in the light heavyweight division, and people kept saying, how come he didn't go? It's because he wanted to stay in his division. He wanted to push it and build it and not be that guy going like this all the time. He would do it if needed to, but he didn't always want to. And he was always exciting to see, and he was always made me happy, and he was just always seemed to be like happy all the time with what he was doing, and he'd do that silly little dance thing and stuff. But his technique, from his leg kicks to his power in his punching and catching people at weird angles and different things, and the fact that he could move and they could throw and they'd miss him half a dozen times before they'd hit him. Later that caught him in a bad way, but for a long time that was fun and exciting to see.
Yeah,
and
it was.
So and plus he held that title for a really long time, and he didn't have a lot of problems that, say, some of the guys of today do, or some of them get in trouble for wellness problems and different things, that are going on.
Wellness problems, partying too much.
Yeah. So he became a worldwide sensation everywhere he went. Plus, he was doing it in the right way. He was winning his fights. He was doing what he was supposed to. He held that belt for a really long time. He's one of the top guys to hold on to something like that for quite a bit of time. So he was my number 1.
Yeah. So remember before we started this, and I told you off camera, I said, that there's so many guys that aren't on this list that I wish I could have put on this list. You mentioned a couple that I didn't even put on my list that I wish would have been on my list. And there's so many other guys that I'd like to put on my list, like Don Fry or Ken Shamrock or anything like that. That comes for another list later on down the road. My number one guy, and this guy was a solid in pride, the Gracie Hunter, man, Kazushi Sakuraba. Man, Sakuraba, I don't know what it was about his catch wrestling and everything that he did. You want to talk about a guy who did crazy stuff. When they'd pull guard on him, man, he would jump over them and try to land on his face and try to land on their face. He would be in their guard, and he would do this and try to hit them. I mean, he would do everything that he could. Not only that, he broke... I remember that fight when he was fighting Renzo Gracie, and Renzo thought he had him, and he was hitting him through the rope, and he twisted around, and he put Renzo in that Kimura, and he took him down to the ground, and you could just see that arm was snapped. It was broken, and he was nice about it, man. He didn't want to just tear it off. He knew it was already broken, and Renzo wasn't going to tap. So he looked up at the ref, and the ref was like, your arm's broken, but you're done. And props to Renzo for not tapping. Hey, you know, if you want to give props for that sort of thing, props to Henzo afterwards for showing respect to Sakuraba. I mean, after he'd beaten, after he'd beaten 2, 3, I think, beaten 4 Gracies in the end. But he fought Hoist for 90 minutes, dude. That was ridiculous till Hoist's dad threw the towel in. So Sakuraba was an animal. That dude was a world beater. I mean, he did mostly submission, but he would stand and fight too, and just an exciting guy to watch.
Yeah. All right, so this is our personal top 10. So whatever you think. What we're going to do right now, though.
Tell us what yours is. Yeah.
Tell us what yours is. Tell us what you think. Tell us who you thought should have been on some of these lists, or post your own list. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, in the comments down below. Put your own list of your top 10 favorites. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to discuss and create one list off of both of our lists. All right?
Okay.
So
I'm good with that.
All right.
Like that.
So who do you think? So we're going to have to knock some of these guys off the list. So I say that number 10 on this list should be Henzo Gracie.
I like that one. Henzo Gracie. I'll go with that.
Okay.
I'll go with Henzo Gracie for number 10. I like that. Okay, let's go with number 9. Number 9, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Ken Shamrock for number 9.
I agree with that. Ken Shamrock will do.
Ken Shamrock.
All right.
Number 8.
Well, number 8, I would go Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes, okay. I like that one.
Okay.
I like
So
that
I'm
one.
going to put Matt Hughes at number 8.
All right, let's do number 7. I'll pick one of your guys. Number 7, we'll go Randy Couture.
Yes, I agree with that.
I like Randy at number 7.
Okay. Number 6. Now, I think number 6 should be Lyoto Machida.
Lyoto Machida, I like that one.
Is that something we can both agree on? Number 6?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I like Lyoto Machida at number 6 because he brings a completely different style to all of it. Number 5, I'm gonna go with the Axe Murderer at number 5, just because he brought that brutality to it.
Okay, well,
What do you think?
I was thinking more. I get that he did, and he's kind of important and stuff, but I was thinking more.
We're going more on the pioneer end.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no. Well, we could do that as well. I say Hoist Gracie.
Hoist Gracie, number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is that agreement? Is that it?
Yeah, I can do Hoist at number 5. I can go Hoist at number 5.
All right,
All
number
right.
4.
If we're doing Hoist at number 5, then number 4, I say we do. I say you got to put Boss in there, man. You got to put
Okay.
Boss in there.
I will.
Number 4.
I
He's
agree
got to
with
be
that.
top 5. He's got to be top 5 somewhere. You got to put Boss in there.
All right, that's agreement. Number 3. I say Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz, I like that one.
Is that an agreement then? Number 3, Tito Ortiz.
I'll go with number 3, Tito Ortiz.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna roll back to Pride on number 2 and go to. I'm gonna go to Sakuraba on number 2.
So no Chuck Liddell, no Anderson Silva, Sakuraba.
I was gonna save Anderson Silva for number 1.
Okay. So we both can agree that Anderson Silva is number 1, right?
Yeah, I have to go with Anderson Silva for number 1. He could do it all.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, Anderson Silva did fight a little bit in Japan. He fought in Pride too, and he came out of that. He started with the shoot box guys, didn't he? Mauricio and Vanderlyn, all those guys. So, but he just took it to a whole nother level, man. He took that to a whole nother level.
So we got this number 2 that we got to figure out. So you say Sakuraba.
So we're kind of at an impasse. I love Sakuraba, man. I love Chuck Liddell too, but they both have different styles on the table. So,
but
I'll let you pick that one.
Are you gonna leave me with that one? Just let me.
I'm gonna leave you with that one. You know, I'm gonna respect it either way.
Okay, I'm gonna put Chuck Liddell then.
Okay.
All right. So here is our final list after we knocked everybody off. Renzo Gracie at number 10. Ken Shamrock at number 9. Matt Hughes at number 8. Randy Couture, number 7. Lyoto Machida, number 6. Royce Gracie, number 5. Boss Rutten, number 4. Tito Ortiz, number 3. Chuck Liddell, number 2. And Anderson Silva, number 1.
Number 1. Now, keep in mind, though, there's so many that could have been on that list.
Yes.
There's so many. Like a week from now, we just say, hey, let's do another top 10 list. And let's not use any of the guys that we named. We could come up with 10 more guys.
Yeah, we could come up with 10 more guys.
We could come up with 10 more guys, right?
Right.
I mean, we'll have to save that, but we could come up with 10 more guys if we had to.
Right.
But tell us who your top 10 is.
Yeah, so that's our top 10 on HeadTrauma. So tell us what you think. If you got another top 10, put it down. Go to our Facebook. Go to our Instagram. Go to Twitter, wherever you want to follow us at. Or on the comments down below. Hit us up. Also give us a thumbs up if you like it, as well as a comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, we're pushing to get to that next number of subscribers. Help us get there as well. So I hope you enjoyed our top 10 old school MMA fighters. I'm Lee.
I'm Fayaz.
And until next time, we're the Trauma Guys. See you later.